And we are live once again. Welcome to the Winner Circle, the podcast covering jiu-jitsu, MMA, and all combat sports. I am one of your hosts, Eugene Plowden, and with me as always, my podcast partner, Isaiah Gathens. What's up, man?
What's up, man?
If this is your first time with us, I want you to know we are members of the Martial Arts Center Network. And on Mondays, you got myself and Isaiah Gatherings with the Winner Circle. Tuesdays, the Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. Wednesdays, the Traditional Way with Brett Shumway. And Thursdays, Fist Kicks and Flicks with myself and Joe Hartley. For more information, you can check us out on all of our social media platforms. Just look for the Martial Arts Center Network on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Patreon. And don't forget about the main app, the Martial Arts Center Network app. Zeke, it's showtime. This is a very special Winner Circle because we're on a Tuesday night instead of Sunday nights.
Tuesday night live, right?
Hey, there you go. Yeah.
Tuesday night live. That's right. We changed it from Saturday Night Live to Sunday Night Live to Tuesday Night Live. Special edition coming to you. We're gonna make it up, right? We've been busy, life been lifing, but we want to make sure that we are committed to what it is that we said we were going to do, and that's make sure that we bring this content to you all. So thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate you.
Yeah, this is actually my my normal night when I record Fist Kicks and Flicks, and I text Joe and told him, I said, hey, we got to make some adjustments because me and you had to do this because we were thinking about doing it yesterday, and I told you that Inside Scoop we're doing their show on Mondays, and it comes out on Tuesday. So we make some adjustments and move some stuff around. So me and Joe will be doing the Winner Circle later on this. I'm sorry, Fist Kicks and Flicks later on this week. So how you been, man? How was your trip back home?
It was good, man. It was good because I was able to get out that cold weather, man, and get back here. So I'm happy to be back.
That's what I'm talking about. See, I'm talking about your home here in Detroit. Like, how was your trip back home to the D, man?
My trip back there. Oh man, you know what? It was. I can't get used to that cold weather, man. I can't.
And it was cold when you got here too.
Yeah, but it was not as cold as it was previously. The weeks before that, you guys were slammed even worse than that. So that was a slight warm up. But I mean, it was short, man. It was short and sweet. I came and did what I needed to do. We went to the competition, Artic Challenge, Scott Gorham's tournament. Had a ton of people. He had somewhere, I think, between 350 and 400 competitors. And the divisions were packed, and that's a good, healthy sign for the circuit for the remainder of the year, as that being the first tournament of the year. He always gets great support. He always gives a great event. And I was able to take some new yellow belts. I had 4 of them competing, new yellow belts, as well as a couple of my black belts. And it was a great time. So, you don't get those firsts back. So I needed to be there for that first. And they did not disappoint. We brought back, I think, 3 gold medals and 1 silver. So it was a great showing. They enjoyed it, and they're looking forward to the next one.
Okay. So this was a lot of their first tournaments. I'm assuming you said they were gold belts, right?
Yeah.
So how do you guys go about preparing kids for their tournaments? Because as for me, I know some schools, they might start having their kids spar when they're white belts. Our system, we start as gold belts. So by that time, a child has been with me for about 6 or 7 months before they get their gold belt. And then we're doing a bunch of different drills so that when we put the safety gear on them and put them out there, they kind of have an idea of what it is they're supposed to be doing, number one. Number two, what I do is I spar with my students first. They don't fight each other first. They'll spar with me just so they can get an understanding what it is they're supposed to be doing. Because, sometimes you get a kid who, who's never done this before, especially if you got 2 of them. And they might just run at each other, throwing punch and kick and just fighting really, really wild. And I'll slow a kid down. It doesn't matter if it's one of my 5 or 6 year olds or one of my teenagers. I'll, take it. We're taking baby steps as they're learning how to spar. I'm teaching them the importance of throwing reverse punches, getting closer with roundhouse kicks, closing the gaps with the kicks, side kicks, defensive side kicks, things like that. So they spar with me quite a bit before they end up sparring with each other. And then hopefully by that time, and actually after that, they'll spar with my black belts or red belts. So that by the time they're fighting with each other, they kind of have an understanding how they go about doing some sparring. So how do you train your students? Especially, you're not even with them physically. So do you watch them over Zoom?
Yeah. So to answer your question, we have a similar kind of format. And for whomever is watching or watches this in the future, again, everybody has their own philosophy behind things, so this isn't a knock. So please don't take it as that. We just had some trial and error. As martial artists, oftentimes we try to remember how we came up, and it's what we know. So we tend to start with that and start passing that philosophy and that ideology on to our students, not realizing that it's a very different group of individuals, a very different culture, very different times. Just people, the way that people are made up is very different than they were before. We talk about this all the time. We watch sports. We'll talk about the NBA being different now than it was back then, or the NFL, or people we see getting injured more or concussed more in some of these things. Like, it's a different makeup of individuals. So it's very hard to be able to try to train somebody the way that you came up and expect it to be successful. And to be honest with you, maybe even the way that we came up when we were trained, if I'm being honest, when you look back on as an adult, it was pretty crazy then. You're like, man, we was just out here doing A, B, C, and D. You didn't know any better or any different because it's just what you knew. But now that you have something to compare it to in a frame of reference, it wasn't that you came up right. Maybe your instructor was just crazy, right? Or they didn't know any better. So, there's a lot of trial and error that goes into these things. For us, we started off sprawling kids at white belt, and we found that we lost a lot of students early on because of the things you just articulated. Kids not understanding how to properly move, how the footwork, how to defend themselves, just not being ready to be hit, right? Early on, 30 days in, 45 days in, not ready to be punched or kicked. One of the selling points that I have for martial arts for parents versus other things, like now parents are believing that boxing is the way. I would think my kids, I'm gonna put them in boxing. I want them to learn how to defend themselves, and I want them to learn discipline. And I'm like, when did karate lose that argument? Where I'm hearing this more and more, this is in parents' heads. And one of the things that I do, and I've trained boxers, taught boxing, trained in boxing as well. So I'm not knocking boxing. I'm just saying that it was clear before that boxing was a sport or an activity that you understood what you were getting. Nobody associated, well, not nobody, parents that had little kids back in the day didn't associate boxing with confidence, discipline, self-control, self-esteem. Those were always tenets of the martial arts, and that isn't the case anymore. In all cases, it's not the case anymore. So what I would tell parents is that one of the differences, you have to know your child, because in martial arts, it's pretty non-contact very early on, depending upon what academy that you go to. And that's very good for a child to get comfortable with the instructors, with the environment and the atmosphere, and to get acclimated to the programming system. And then by the time they start to spar, they feel like they know how to defend themselves, because when you come in our academy, the first thing you're learning is how to bow, how to say yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. So you're learning etiquette, you're learning respect, the first things you're learning before you do anything else. And then once the first thing we teach you is not a punch or a kick, it's a block. So you learn blocks first. So we make sure we ingrain that discipline and self-control, and respect kind of mentality in them right off the bat. And then the first thing that we teach you is how to defend yourself, not how to hit somebody else. Now, again, to each his own. So I'm saying all that to say that once we started teaching sparring early on, before a kid understood how to even tie their belt properly, before they were comfortable with their blocking and their footwork and their movement, the kids were ill prepared, and they would either be too afraid and didn't want to come to class and turned off by it, because that's a lot of contact early on, or people would get hurt. So we took sparring and forms out of the white belt curriculum altogether. We don't teach forms at white belt anymore, but we teach you the techniques and things you're going to have to learn, movement and things like that, to prepare. Then once you get yellow belt, we start teaching you how to not just do your low block or your down block, but how to do them in stances while you're pivoting and things like that. Well, why did you change that? We changed that because we noticed that children would start getting frustrated, right? Super frustrated, to the point to where they didn't want to continue. Not only is it not fun, it's a memorization game now they have to try to remember. Nobody wants to feel like they're not good at something early on. So it created a lot of discomfort and frustration, which are things that a child should not be experiencing in their first 90 days. Now, if they're frustrated because they're not able to throw their reverse punch or back fist or front kick, that's one thing. But I'm saying that for a child to feel inept or afraid, those are things that they should not feel inept or afraid when they're first learning, coming into a dojo or dojang, getting comfortable and ingratiating themselves in that environment. So we took sparring out until yellow belt. At yellow belt, that's when we started teaching the techniques. Although I'm not there, remember, it's my academy, but all of my instructors have 15 plus years of teaching. Of training, a decade of teaching. So they are very, well equipped to be able to teach the students how to spar properly, sparring drills. Again, for the first tournament that I was there for, I make sure that I'm there and I go in town often enough to train my staff, right? So I'll do that by training the students and showing them how I expect it to be done. Then I train the staff to make sure that they understand how it should be done in my stead. And then at that point, I sit back and I let them be able to experience the great joys that you and I experience of being able to actually pour into kids and work with them, and then be able to watch that materialize into what it becomes later. So when they went to the tournament, I did a little coaching, but they stepped in and they did most of it. And it was an experience that they had never had before, of being able to say, hey, even though this is Academy of Suduta, this is Master Gatherings, umbrella or covering as far as the academy goes, we're the individuals here that's actually 3 days a week working hands-on with them, and we're coaching them, and we can see our the manifestation of our product and how they're able to take what it is that we're teaching them and go out and apply it, and they are able to experience that sense of pride. But no, we don't teach them to yellow belt just because we've tried it the other way before. And when we looked at the retention, and not just the retention, but why kids were quitting, it was because they were either too frustrated, because they were uncoordinated, because they haven't been training long enough to understand the forms, or because of the fact that they just were so afraid to come to class because they didn't want to get hit, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Or vice versa, they only want to come to class because they only want to hit somebody, and they didn't even understand how to control themselves. So it was something better suited to wait until they had some experience, were comfortable with the instructors and with the environment before we introduced that concept to them.
That's, what, one of the things that I found is, which is weird, but a lot of kids, like you said, like they quit. They'll leave martial arts, they'll leave karate because of, number one, they don't want to go to tournaments. A lot of kids leave because they don't want to go to tournaments and their instructors force them to go to tournaments. Or two, they don't want to spar. But when you think about karate, that's what you really think of. I never, if I'm thinking about karate, I'm not thinking about forms. I'm thinking about fighting. I'm thinking about defending myself, ninjas, something. So you know that you're going to fight at some point in time. If you unless you're doing Tai Chi, if you join a martial arts school, you should know in the back of your mind that at some point in time you're going to fight. Like even when we were growing up, watching Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers and stuff like that, that's all they did on those shows. So it's weird to see that even though we were offering that, kids were still leaving karate because of sparring and because of tournaments. And that's just
about the marketing advertising. Think about the marketing advertising shift, though. Think about your flyer. So if you think about a flyer that you would send out right now, or something you would post online on a Groupon, I want you to envision what that would look like in your head. And at no point in time in that would there most likely be sparring gear in there, the word fight, the word or sprawl, or anything of that effect. But what there will probably be is some very kiddie graphics. There'll be some kids smiling and waving with their karate uniform on. There'll be words like fun, exciting, games, camp, right? Camps are fun. Summer camp, winter camp. Like the color scheme will be carefully selected, where there are, gold and yellow and red and things that pop out to appeal to a kid. So, yeah, I get your point. And back then we signed up for it because we knew what we were getting. Now parents are putting their kids in it because parents understand what they want the program to give their kid. But the marketing and advertising that we're giving is not making a person think anything about fighting, but more that they're going to go and have fun and play games. And we've realized over the years that was the most important way to get kids in. And then at some point in time, over a course of time, if they're not sparring early, By the time they get to that point, we're hoping that their level of confidence would be so high that it wouldn't be an issue. Also, just looking around that waist and seeing that you have a gold belt on now, you have a yellow belt. You understand by looking up on that wall, we call it a showman. Looking on that showman or that wall that has those belts, that has those mirrors, that has that martial art history, that has that pledge, you understand that I'm not that first belt anywhere, and I'm that second belt. So there's some responsibility that comes with it. So even though I'm not comfortable with this, I am a higher rank now, so there's going to be more expected of me. We build that into the students by making them understand, number one, our belts are up on the wall, so you can look and see your progression. You don't have to ask me how far along you are or what's next. The parents can look and see, this is what the next stripe is, this is what the next belt is. But we make it a point to make it seem like, hey, you know what? You're yellow belt now, so things are different. Like, because now you're a leader of somebody. There's a white belt class as well, and you're higher than them. So now they feel like, okay, I'm really not comfortable with this, but I am comfortable with the academy. I do like the program. My parents seem to be happy that I'm coming. I am comfortable with my instructors, and I am a higher rank. So I guess I probably should be doing tougher things now. So they'll be much more apt to try it, knowing that they are leaders now, that you psychologically, and you show them and you build it in by them visually seeing it and psychologically understanding that with that new rank, there's more responsibility coming along with it. Then they tend to not quit as easily when you introduce it to them later versus earlier.
Let's move on to the next topic. A lot of times as martial arts instructors, we teach is what was taught to us a lot of times. And honestly, the world that we live in now and our kids are growing up in now is not the same world that we grew up in. So, like with bullying, I mean, people talked about each other. People, we called it playing the dozens or capping on each other or, anything. We really didn't take that much offense to it. And if you did, you got into an altercation on the playground or whatever in somebody's backyard. And then, a couple of days later, you still were friends with them.
Right.
And now the bullying is totally different than anything that we've gone through, especially with the internet, because now, a kid's just not getting bullied at school or at gym. Like that can go online also, and people can make videos about them. They can make little podcasts about them, and it's following you. And then other people are seeing it. Then other people at other schools are seeing it, and then you're getting tagged in it. So bullying is really is way worse than it used to be. Every now and then when we were younger, there was, someone like, Steve Urkel, the kid with the pocket protector and the suspenders and glasses, and he's dropping his books and, he's getting picked on. But a lot of times, I mean, that person might have been picked on throughout, a couple years, but it wasn't from what I remember seeing, it wasn't like vicious stuff, it was somebody teasing someone. Or, I guess tripping them is kind of violent and is kind of vicious and mean. But stuff like that would happen. But the stuff that they're doing now, man, especially with AI and just being able to record things or take pictures or manipulate pictures, like kids are going through so much stuff that we never went through, and we never ever thought about teaching our kids to help them prevent putting themselves or getting into situations like that, or what they should do to protect themselves. So do you have an anti-bullying curriculum in your academy? I know with the Gracie Academy that I'm part of for Jiu-Jitsu, we do, and I'm learning that now. And I'm going to incorporate that into my school because I'm liking what I'm learning and reading. But from the traditional karate standpoint that we came up in, we never had that anti-bullying curriculum. And pretty much, honestly, we had our traditional curriculum we went through, and we had point fighting, and that was it. that we had. So, what do you think, man? Do you have an anti-bullying curriculum?
When I was coming up, my anti-bullying policy or curriculum was to go to learn karate. Right, that was it. Like, you don't want to be bullied, you need to learn how to fight. I started martial arts because I was bullied. That's what people ask me all the time. Why? What made you start? My mother never was like, I'm gonna enroll you in a program. My mother, God rest her soul, she wasn't supportive or non-supportive. She didn't care. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I was happy, that's great. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you doing karate? Like, it wasn't like she was coming to class and watching me and taking pictures. It wasn't like that. She went to one tournament, you know what I mean, that I begged her to come to, which was my first one. I got folded up at that tournament. And she went to my black belt testing, and that was pretty much it. But always supported me, you know, because it was something that I wanted to do. So that's what got me into martial arts. But more specifically, asking about my academy, I don't. And it's funny that you highlight something that I never really thought about how bullying is worse now than it was when we were younger, and for the reasons that you articulated. Because in my eyes, up until you just brought that up, I didn't think so. And that's me probably being a victim of having been bullied and seeing a lot of other people, friends and family members that I know, having been bullied coming up. The reason why I say that I didn't really process that is because I do believe, and again, I'm not saying kids aren't going to school physically getting bullied. I'm saying that I believe that, and we see this in social media all the time. Call them keyboard warriors, or telephone tough guys, keyboard warriors, whatever you want to call them. There's an influx of bullying or people saying negative things because they don't have to have any level of accountability. Some of these people feel like they're just never going to run across you in person, or if they do, you're going to forget about it, or they're gonna slide to the side and get away with it. There's no immediate repercussion that comes from it, consequences that come from it. And they're just going to play the odds and say that they don't think that nothing's ever going to happen, to begin with, because there's this much distance between, individuals. So I feel like that these people, the confrontations aren't the same as it was when we were younger. Like, because those things didn't exist, if you were being bullied, you were being bullied in person, right? Because those things didn't exist. Or somebody will call you and say, next time I see you, this is what's going to happen. Or I'm on my way over there right now to make this happen. So the bullying it seemed more frightening to me because these were things that you were in physical places and spaces with people, and it happened right then. And the people who were bullying you, they were prepared because they understood the consequence that came along with it, and they were ready to deal with that. Right now, the reason I didn't really look at it the way that you brought it up is because everybody thinks they're tough now. Everybody types stuff and they send stuff or whatever else. And, these people may never actually lay hands on a person or do anything or follow up on any of the threats. It's just them saying mean-spirited, negative things and them sharing it. But they can share it amongst multiple platforms, tag other people, tag you in it, and do all those other things to where psychologically and emotionally it carries with you, and it feels worse than actually having been beat up, or physically bullied. So I didn't really look at it that way because I feel like a lot of people nowadays, they just lip service and they talking. They're never going to do anything, but you can defame a person. Their character. You can say negative things. You can make people want to shut their social media off altogether because they become laughing stocks, amongst every social media platform. So, and those are things we didn't have to deal with. So I guess to your point, I can see why you would say that, and I would consider that you might be right in that regard. That maybe it is worse than it was when we were coming up. Because
it's just not going to end right there. It's going to continue when you go home. Like, whatever happened in school, and that was it. You got a new set of friends on your block. You got a new set of friends in the karate school. True. You got a new set of friends at church. But now everybody could know about that. Whatever situation that happened to you at school, and somebody, your friends at karate might just be making a joke. They might not be trying to bully you, but they've seen the video or seen a picture somebody did of you, and now they just teasing you. But you never know when that kid that's being bullied has had enough and might snap. So we got to start thinking about things like getting in some of these kids' head now, what they need to do to prevent that from going even further, and also having conversations with the parents also, because the parents and the teachers, if it's happening at school, that's number one that could prevent it from going any further before a kid snaps. And we see that, especially some of these suburban schools.
Yeah. No, we don't have a program. Now that we've discussed this, and I'm looking at it through a different lens. I do think that there's something that I should probably implement So I'll probably get with you and try to get a hold of some of that information that you're reading, and see if any of that's a good fit for what we're doing, because we know it's very real. And again, in my antiquated way of viewing things, it's like, okay, well, we're going to arm you with the physical tools and skills. So if somebody puts their hands on you, you'll be able to defend yourself. And that's our primary thought process and responsibility as martial art instructors, but not considering the psychological and emotional component of the damage that can be done versus social media, as you just brought up, and the harm that it can do, not just at the time, but like you said, when you go home and moving forward. Because again, if something happened in school, I just know that I just have to stay away from certain people at school, and I'm gonna be teased at school and ridiculed. But when I went back home, I could spin the story however I want or not tell it at all. It's not gonna reach my block. It's not gonna reach my church. It might not even reach my household if I don't care to share. But as you just pointed out, yeah, like everybody can know in a second. You know what I mean? So that's a good point.
I have these conversations. I definitely have these conversations with my students all the time, especially because I have a special needs student who's been with me for about 1.5 years, 2 years, and he definitely was enrolled because he was getting bullied at school. And I'm thinking like, why are you bullying a special needs kid anyway? That's just mean. That's just evil. So why would you be doing that anyway? And after training him for about 1 year or 2, he still, like, this boy is getting stronger. His kicks are strong. His punches are strong. Like, the crazy thing is, he does not know his strength. So in my head, as I'm teaching him, I'm like if he kicks one of these kids with a roundhouse kick, he's going to hurt them. And I remember when the kid couldn't even do a roundhouse kick. Like, he just couldn't grasp the concept of how to lift the leg, snap the leg out. Now he's throwing these roundhouse kicks, and the kid is almost my height. And I'm like, wow. And he's about 12 or 13 years old. And I'm like, dude, like, he is going to hurt someone if he continues to be bullied, because at some point in time he's going to snap. He's learning how to spar now, and he's learning. I have another student who technically was not being bullied, but friends wanted her to fight, and they cornered her in the bathroom, and they just picked the wrong girl, because this student of mine I nicknamed her and a couple other girls the mean girls, because they can fight, they can bang. I wish they would go to more tournaments. They just don't. But she took old girl down in about 10 seconds. And mom brought me the video, because there were other girls in the school at her elementary school that videotaped it. So mom came to me and showed me the video, and I was just like, oh my God, like, because she mopped that girl up real quick. It wasn't, and the girl surrounded her. Her friends surrounded her. She didn't even have a chance to second guess herself, and it was over like that. And it could have been worse. So a lot of times I talk to the parents. I tell them to get that paper trail, get the paper trail going. Talk to the teacher, talk to the principal. I tell the kids the same thing. Talk to the principal, talk to the teacher, because I tell the parents, I say, sooner or later something may happen, and your child is going to have to defend themselves, and you at least want that paper trail that you could point back to and say, hey, we told you about this in January. We told you about this in February. We told you about this in March. We talked to the principal in April. We tried to have a sit down with that other student's parents, back in March. Nothing still happened. So now here we are. Your kid has a busted nose and a black eye and a broken arm, and my kid is sitting pretty. This could have all been prevented. So it's stuff like that we eventually, we have to start, because then the next thing, that student is not going to stay beat up. Next thing you know, they might bring a weapon. So stuff can escalate, especially when they thought that this person was weak, and they're not weak, and they know how to defend themselves. So this person is going to have to up the ante. So there's a lot of things that us as instructors have to start thinking about incorporating into our academy to protect our students.
Most definitely. And that's typically the next phase, is that either I'm going to bring a weapon or I'm going to bring more individuals to jump somebody. So it's the fighting seldom ends with the loss. It just, there's really no winner in it. And like you said, if a person feels like they've been embarrassed and now you have people recording, expecting a different outcome than what ended up happening, and now that gets shared. Now they were the aggressors and the bully, but now they feel victimized because they're being defamed. It's just a vicious, circle, man. Well, it's just going to come back around and around and around. But the paper trail is definitely key. In many cases, it doesn't change the end result. The only thing that changes prosecution charges as far as legal charges being brought up against a person. But most of the times, as far as them being expelled or, from school and things like that, or having to transfer, unfortunately, it doesn't always change that situation. But it's important to safeguard yourself by having those things for sure. But that's something I'm definitely going to incorporate because we're starting an after school program and we're looking for different programming options to be able to add. And anti-bullying just kind of lit up listening to you talk about. I think that would be one of the great things to be able to offer for the students, and then also make sure that we get the parents in on it as well.
And when you talk about it enough too, it almost becomes second nature. You can't. It's not a thing that we can do. Once every 6 months, something like that. Yeah, it has to be something that you talk about all the time with your students, just so that they're prepared when it happens. They're not shook. They already been prepared for this. They already been training for this, so they know what to do. They know how to defend themselves, protect themselves. So something to look at, something to think about. All right, let's move on, man. Let's talk about this right here. UFC 326, man. The main event: Max Holloway against Charles Oliveira. This obviously is not for a title, huh?
This fight takes place when? March 7th.
Okay. Yeah, so March 7th.
We got a little time to anticipate, and hopefully the card holds up because it looks like a very solid card. So hopefully it holds up.
We got Renato Moicano against Brian TC Ortega. Let's see. Kyle Barrejo. I'm not sure how to say his name. Hennerdale Riddler. Cody Garbrandt against Long Zhao. I cannot pronounce his last name, against Jesus Aguilar. So pretty solid card. Aguilar, thank you. Charles Oliveira and Max Holloway. Man, it seems like those guys have been fighting for a long time now. I wonder if they're getting to the end of their careers at this point.
Well, first of all, who do you have? Who do you think is going to win that fight? How many of these people are you familiar with on this card?
I'm familiar with Max and Charles. Brian TC, I'm familiar with him because he trains at Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, so I'm familiar with him. But those three are the only ones. Oh, and Cody. Other than that, I'm not really familiar with the other fighters. But as far as your answer, I'm going with Max.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the first matchup, I'm not familiar with either of these people just by name. If I saw them fight, a lot of times when I see the highlights, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this guy. So I know that this Jesus Aguilar sounds familiar. I just have to see his fight, and it's kind of minimized too, so it's kind of hard to make his face. But I'm gonna reserve my judgment for that one as the fights get closer. The Cody Garbrandt versus Long. We trained Cody for some time. Dewey Cooper, he came over with us and did several camps with us. So Cody's a really good guy. I've spoken with him at length in preparation for at least one or two of his fights. And one thing that I noticed when speaking with him, I didn't really work with him personally a lot. He worked a little bit with my son, giving him some pointers and stuff like that, and I worked alongside Dewey Cooper. But one of the things I noticed about Cody is, and you wouldn't think this having just watched him fight or, even from his interviews, maybe, he's super technical, man. Like, he asks a lot of questions. He's very technical. He's very routine oriented. Like, he would get to the gym. A lot of times it'd be coach. Coach was always running late, man, because he was trying to pick somebody up or grab something or do something. He's a very popular man now, and his time is in high demand. And a lot of times he's leaving from training somebody else across town because he'll stretch himself super thin just to be able to make sure everybody gets what they need. And Cody just was like, man, if it's this time we're supposed to be doing this, supposed to be doing that. He will warm up on his own. He will ask questions. He's a very technical individual. One thing I'll say about this, I sound like I hate every other culture, man. I'm starting to revisit this thing, man. Like I'm not coming across well, on live or podcast and television. I'm starting to see a lot of the Asian fighters, like the Brazilians. Right?
There you go.
The Brazilians. Remember I said I didn't trust them. You see what happened, right? There are some good ones. I don't know if it's the programs over there or what, but I noticed that they're not. I don't find them to be specialists in any particular area where there's nothing specific where I'm like, I have to really, really, really worry about this happening to this and like this from this person. Like most of them are very well rounded. They take the time to learn how to wrestle. They learn how to strike. They learn how to do their submissions. They are probably the epitome of well-rounded. If you ask me, and I think we talked about this before, I really hated that word well-rounded became introduced into it. And I don't like watching well-rounded fighters. I don't. I think this is what the problem is, which is why all of these fights are so boring. I know that sounds silly because when I work with somebody, I'm going to make sure and I'm teaching them that they're a well-rounded fighter. So don't make it seem like I'm saying if you're learning MMA or if you're a coach, stop making sure your fighters are well-rounded. I'm saying as a fan, I dislike it because I feel like that everybody has something that's a specialty of theirs. You have something that you are better at than everything else. And what happens is when you're focused on being well-rounded, you stop focusing on being dominant in that one thing and you start trying to spread it amongst everything. So that becomes like that jack of all trades and a master of none. I went to school to become an electrician, right? That's what I became, and I'm really good at it, like really good at it. And I don't brag on anything or say that I'm an expert of many things. So, but some people, I'm so good at it that some people say, well, do you know? Nope. Well, can't you just hang? Nope. I don't know how to do nothing else. Like, I don't know how to, could I do it? Yeah. Could I look at your toilet? Yeah, but I don't know. Nothing with deployment, nothing with heat cooler. Can't put nothing together out of a box. Can't hang a door. I don't care to do anything else. Now, can I do it? I'm sure that I can. But I shoot it down immediately because my 100% focus, which is why I'm so good at it, was focusing just on that. So the people that you had before that, they did a little this, but they jacked this up 100%. And when it got time to be able to have a certain skill to where they understood the depths and complexities of it, they didn't have that. So I'm finding a lot of people who are really good strikers, they become confused because now they're trying to spread. If you look at like imagine that 100%, whereas before maybe they were 70% one thing and then 30% was broken up amongst the other things, just enough to be functional, right? But now they're trying to say 25% striking, 25% wrestling, 25% jiu-jitsu, 25% boxing or whatever. So now it's like you don't really have enough of anything to finish anybody. All you can do is hang in fights now and take them to decision. So I feel like that when you see a really good striker, they become confused because they're like, okay, I don't know when I should strike or when I should wrestle or I should do A, B, C, or D. You see a really good grappler. They're trying to stand up with people and strike. And we're yelling like, why aren't you wrestling? Weren't you a Division I wrestler? Why aren't you wrestling anymore? Why aren't you shooting? We'll see a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt that isn't taking the fight to the ground or letting people get back up to their feet. And we're like, that's supposed to be the ocean. That's supposed to be where you thrive at. So I'm finding that the more well-rounded these fighters are becoming, the more boring it's becoming because I have two people that are not specialists of anything at all. When I watch Derek Lewis, I don't think of well-rounded. I think about the most knockouts ever. I'm excited. I want to see this. Now, if he gets taken down, I want him to get back up. I want him to know enough to do that. I want him to be able to finish a choke if he can take somebody back, but I don't care about those things. I know that through 3 or 5 rounds that if he mess around and put his hands on your chin, you're going to be going to sleep. Certain wrestlers, I know that if they get a hold of you, you going down and you not getting back up into the next round if you lucky then. There's certain submission artists where I'm like, my man, it got like 5 heel hooks in a row. I'm like, if this dude get on your leg, that's excitement for me. That's old throwback UFC for me. to have a guy or girl with a superpower that if they get this in their realm, it keeps you watching. All this well-rounded stuff, I'm not a fan of. I believe that
I don't think they're training like that anymore.
I believe that a lot of the Asians, that's what the makeup of their gyms are. Is they really learn how to be very well-rounded. So they're not scary in most cases. There are a few of them, but I don't see him winning this fight against Cody. Cody's too analytical. He has power in his hands. His wrestling's good, and he understands how to both fight and compete. And it's important to be able to understand that you need to be able to do both of those at times. You got to have a dog in you to fight, but you got to be able to compete and take somebody to where you're stronger than them and they're weak. I give Cody the edge on that one because I feel like that he's going to be able to outwork the Long in some areas that he's going to think he's going to thrive, and I think Cody will be a little bit better in some of those areas. Kyle Bahalio versus the Ritter, that's going to be really good. Kyle's really good. You know my concern with the Brazilians. They tend to tire, man. They get tired. I mean, look at what was the look
we
at
just
last,
saw that with Teixeira.
My man got tired. Dude, I got tired. What match was that in the last UFC? Was a week and a half ago where the dude was tired after the first round and he was sitting on the floor. And I'm like, what's going on? I don't remember which match that was.
I can't remember.
They tired. They tired, man. And Kyle's a really good fighter. He's good everywhere and he's strong. The Ritter's a beast though, man. You know what I mean? And I just think he's gonna edge it out. I do. So if I have to give the edge to anybody, it's gonna be the Ritter.
Okay.
Let's see. We got Renato Moicano versus Brian Ortega. T-City, I think he's all set, man. I think he's done. I think that he out there seeing ghost, man. I think he's afraid. He's become chinny after that what was it? Was it Max Holloway against him? That match? What was that big fight some years ago? That just didn't go his way, and he got embarrassed out there. He hasn't really been the same fighter since then. Was that Max Holloway versus him?
I can't remember, but I think he's lost his last two fights, didn't he?
He's not the same fighter. You know, all of that's. I mean,
this might be it for him.
But remember, though, what I just said a little while ago about a specialist. He was the ground specialist. If he got you on the ground, he was taking that arm home with him. He was going to make a statement, and when he couldn't finish those bigger fights, he had no more depth, and it actually shattered his confidence. So he's not the same fighter. I don't even think this was going to be competitive. You know, I got
he lost Renato.
Yeah, so his back's against the wall too.
Yeah, he lost to Aljamain Sterling and Diego Lopez. He lost both of those. He beat Yar, and then he lost to Yar before that, and he lost to Alexander. So you know he fought some dogs his last few fights. So, but out of his last 5 fights, he is 1-4 out of his last.
Well, see, but here's the problem with people like him. He's too talented to go back down. And this is where the UFC have to cut you. Because you fought too many big names for us to put you with a regular person. But you're not good enough to beat anybody of note. So we can't fight you up because you can't beat those people. It's clear in your resume of the last 4 fights that you've had. But you had too many experienced fights for us to put you back. Right?
And that's what I was talking about before. It's like, so it's almost bad that there is no other competition for the UFC for a fighter like Brian, for an organization like Brian Ortega to go to get his wins and his confidence back up, and then come back to the UFC.
It used to be
he
Bellator.
has to go, yeah, and now he has to either go to PFL, right, or one, and that's it, pretty much.
That's it. It's bad news, man, and that's where you are. Think about the WWE. Think about somebody like The Rock, you know what I mean, or Stone Cold, you know, or Roman Reigns, you know, guys this level, and then all of a sudden they're scripted where they lose a couple fights, and then they're fighting the guy. They don't have new guys no more like they used to back in the day because they developed them in the NXT. They develop in They developed them in there now. But if you used to watch the Saturday night main event back in the day, they would just have a regular guy that would just come out. You know what I mean? It would just be his name, Thomas Smith.
Yeah.
You know, he would come out, and then they would have like somebody like Coco Beware, somebody crazy, better, Bruce the Barber Beefcake come out and just whoop on him. This guy, they called him a jobber back then. Like this guy, he was nobody at all. And you may never even see him again. You know, they don't have regular people like that anymore, you know, in fighting. They're all developed. You know what I mean? So like you can't take somebody from that top tier and put them down against an entry-level guy, you know, and expect people to watch and take it serious. They're going to lose respect for him because they'll say, you were fighting for the championship. How are you fighting a guy that's 1-0? You know, a guy that's debuting in the UFC. So they have to let you go. So, and in the main event, you got Max Holloway versus Oliveira. I'm going Garbrandt all day long. Garbrandt, Charles. I think Charles wins this one. Just so you know, I always bet against Max Holloway. I don't know why.
Why is that?
I don't think I've ever in life went for him in any matchup and thought that he was going to win. And he's had some impressive showings, especially as of late. He's looked amazing. I can't go for him. Again, back to the well-rounded thing. Like, I don't think Max is a knockout artist. Max is not going to submit you. He's not a wrestler necessarily, but he can wrestle. I feel like that he's going to give me a good fight. But I feel like if he's going against somebody that has something that they can hang their hat on, that if they can impose their will enough to get to that position in that fight, that they're going to be better than him in that area, because I don't feel like he's a specialist in any area. I just feel like he's an amazing good fighter with that Hawaiian spirit and blood and fight in him, and that he's able to parlay that in those tough fights that he's had into a great deal of success. I don't look at him as a specialist.
See, and my thing with Charles is he's gone 3-3 in his last 6 fights. 3-3. And he's had such a long career.
He's getting chinny too. He gets dropped in all of his fights just about.
Yeah, I'm just, man, he's just been in the UFC for so long. I just feel like, but actually him and Max, they both seem like they've been around for so long. Like I feel like this, I almost feel like this might be the loser's last match. That's what
Max will get dropped like Charles though. Charles get dropped every fight. Like he gets dropped a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like he has those moments that he has to fight back out of all the time, you know, to come back and win. And that's because he stands too long. He's garnered some success on the feet, and like all wrestlers or jiu-jitsu practitioners, when they feel that knockout, they get drunk off that power from that knockout, and they start to lose themselves, and they start standing too long against people they shouldn't stand against. You can't stand in front of Max. You just can't do it. You know what I mean? And if he stands too long, he's gonna get popped. You know, but I still think that I think his wrestling and his jiu-jitsu skill set far supersedes Max's. And if he's smart enough to use his striking to close the distance and get in and can get a hold of Max, I think he'll be able to get him down. And if he doesn't finish him, he'll be able to at least secure more rounds than Max will be able to win. Max is smart, though, so he might try to talk him at the end to standing in the center with me. Come on, stand in the center with me, so he can start stealing those rounds and getting some of that get back or putting him in knockout situations. But I think that from a technical and skill standpoint, you know, Oliveira's got more.
So do you think that, I mean, since this is a main event, I'm assuming this is going 5. So,
yeah.
And this is not for a title.
See, we talked about this the other week too. Here's that nonsense again.
Yeah. So, man, I want to look on this. So this is their second fight. Yeah, no, this is not for a title. Wait a minute. Wait. Hold on. It's like Max says a lightweight belt, but they have, it's that BMF title. That's what Max has. Okay.
I was about to say he's the BMF title holder though.
Yeah. Okay. One of those things. All right. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of that, man. You got enough titles. They don't need to make up titles. They got a main title. They have interim titles. They had
to compete with WWE.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
what it was. It was creating a fictitious belt that no other organization has that makes them stand out and set apart to be able to randomly put together these, which is good for the fans, these random and
I
exciting fights that you do not
I
even have to be ranked into a certain type of contention to even qualify for this fight. You don't have to be ranked number in the top 10 for this kind of fight. It's just who they think they bad MFers, and let's put them two together and let them fight.
mm-hmm. I would like something like this if it was two fighters, and you don't do it all the time, and you don't have one for each weight class and all that stuff. I don't know if they do. They just should not do that. But if it was just one title, let's say for a dream match. So let's say back in the day, if Anderson was going to fight George St. Pierre, okay, make that for the BMF title, or I guess you could have did this with John Jones and Cormier back in the day, when John Jones
You
was a
talk about
light
like super
heavyweight.
fights.
Yeah, make that for this, but not this fight. I hope this is not a BMF. I looked at the picture and Max had the BMF title over his shoulder. It does not say BMF on here or on the website. I don't know if this is for the BMF title. I just don't like that idea, man. Just
I would rather it be for the title if Max has it, because it's a main event. And if you're gonna have people fighting for the main event, and if this is a card that is a pay-per-view, which we don't have those anymore, I know, but you understand what I'm saying. It's supposed to be a pay-per-view quality one, then you should have a title that's on the line for any one of those.
And that's what we talked about too last time. Like every UFC numbered event needs to be for a title. I mean, you got enough titles, you got enough divisions to have the champion on every single card, one or two champions. So I know, man. But yes, I think that BMF title should be reserved for super fights. Something that the fans really, really want to see. So all right, man. Let's move on to our last topic. It's on you, Professor's perspective. Do you want me to play the audio, or do you want me to keep it?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay. All right, let me unmute it. Here we go.
Into a person's defense. Sometimes there's kind of a pause to see how the fight or how the moment develops or how it materializes, instead of just throwing a lot of techniques and exerting your energy and wasting your energy. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. Then I'll pause for a second, and I'm going to go 3. I'm going to throw a 6. A 6 is your rear hook. All right, 3, and then I'm going to throw a kick. And so the combo is going to be 1, 2, 3. Pause for a second. 3, 6, 3, rear kick. So basically, it's going to be a jab, cross, hook. Okay, pause. Then it's a hook, another hook, and then it's a rear kick. Now, if this is your first time delivering this kick, you want to hit with the shin. Make sure that you come up on the ball of the foot. You don't want to be on the heel, because if you're on the heel of the foot, you have a difficult time pivoting. Okay, so when you deliver this kick, you come on the ball of the foot, turn over, and you're going to hit with the shin. Okay, and then again, this hand wants to come up when I'm delivering that kick. So if me and Jamal are fighting, what happens is maybe I've gotten him up against the ropes, or his back's against the cage or something, so I drive him back with my combination here. Okay, and then I'll wait to see what he does. And then I come back with the combo here, and now he's blocking those, and I'll finish with the kick to the leg. Okay, so I don't want to just keep on punching his arms. You see this a lot of times, guys just keep punching the person's arms. Sometimes when I throw a combination and he defends, I'll wait, okay, to see what he does. Maybe his arms drop, maybe he starts to get ready to try to open up with the combination himself, and then I just come back and start striking again. And if he's blocking too much upstairs, then I change levels with my strikes, and I start attacking the leg. One more time. The combo is jab, cross, hook, pause, hook, 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 kick. Kick with the rear leg. You're going to go 3 times, and then your partner will hold for you. And then all right, so thank you. So what I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to discuss from my perspective, is making sure that when we're giving combinations for bags or for pads, that they translate well over to actual fighting situations. The biggest thing that I see in kickboxing or MMA is people feeling confident on the bags and pads. And we're getting into a point now where a lot of fighters, and I know this is going to shock you, people who really want to fight, they don't want to spar. They just want to come in and they want to hit the bags and they want to work with coach to hit mitts and stuff like that. And the reason why, when I started to sit back and evaluate and watch the people who do great on bags or pads or mitts go over and they sprawl, is that they're not using any of the stuff that they've learned, or that they were working on. And the reason why is because the truth of the matter is that the combinations that the coach is giving or the instructors or whatever else, does not provide a realistic component for somebody to actually take and then utilize into an actual sparring or fighting situation. One of the things you heard me keep talking about was the pause. And that was important because when you watch people sprawl, a lot of times a person may be defending and a person just keeps punching into their defense. Now, I don't know if you're a video game player or if anybody who's watching this is, but if you watch video games, fighting video games, on top of the energy bar that they have, they'll also have a stamina bar oftentimes as well. To whereas if you keep striking, then that stamina bar run down. And even if you have a full energy bar, that fighter won't be able to throw techniques or throw them at the rate, the pace, or with the speed or power that they would be able to normally, which in turn gets the other person to start hitting them, and then they start losing the energy bar, right? Or if a person's blocking and somebody's hitting, on a video game, even if the energy goes down, it only goes down a little bit at a time, right? So the bottom line is that by continuing to punch into a person's defense, you're not really doing very much for yourself, right? You want to have those pauses to see and allow something to materialize. That is what a real fight is like. A real fight isn't somebody just loading off like this here on the bags and the pads, and there being zero response on the other side. So we work those pauses into our combinations to try to get people to understand, account for the fact that I need to see what this person's going to do instead of just punching into their defense. If I throw a jab, cross, hook, all right, and let me see what this person's going to do. Now when they think I'm done striking, maybe they'll drop their hands, and then now I can come back with the other hook after that, and then the other hook, and get them to put their hands back up and then re-buy in or recommit to that defensive posture. And now they'll stand there and be a heavy bag because now they're afraid to be able to drop their defense because they don't know if I'm done striking, if I'm going to start to give another barrage of strikes. Maybe they'll then try to strike because they feel like it's their turn. And I talk to my guys about this all the time, about taking turns, which you shouldn't be doing when you're fighting. Okay, I'm done with my combo. Now your turn to have a combo, right? So now when he gets ready to throw, no, it's still my turn. I come back with the other hook, right? So you want to give the combination an opportunity to be able to see what materializes like you would in the fight. There's going to be a response on the other side, and I need to work those into my combinations to be realistic. You also notice that once I got the person to commit fully upstairs, I didn't throw any body shots, not saying that you shouldn't. A couple of those hooks can go to the body as well, but I wanted a full buy-in up top with the combo. So everything to buy in up top. I threw a couple punches. I paused for a second. If the person's hands are still up, I can continue the combo, no problem. But if their hands drop for a minute, now I could potentially score, give them to bring their hands back up. But once they have a full commitment and buy-in, then what do? I finish with the kick to the leg. So I change levels at the last minute once the person is totally committed to defending up top, right? And now that they got kicked in the leg, that opens up that target. Now they're self-conscious because now they don't know when the kicks to the leg are coming. That eventually opens up shots to the body. And now the person is not confident and they're second-guessing themselves all together. They're worried about defending up top. They got the legs exposed. The body hasn't even been touched yet. And now that's going to start getting touched. So you can psychologically begin to wear on your opponent in this particular regard. But I believe that it's really important to work pauses into your striking combinations to condition your fighters to understand that in a realistic situation, the average person isn't going to just stand there and be a heavy bag. There'll be a response. And even if there isn't a response, you need to allot for a pause so that you can see what materializes of what it is that you've done. And then at that point in time, continue from there. That's the only way we can get pad work and bag work to translate well over into actual sparring and fighting situations. That's my perspective.
Nice. I've never done that. I've never worked in pauses into my training, so I like that. That was cool.
Thank you. Right, well,
that's it, man. You know what, man? Now that the UFC is on Paramount, and I also have Fight Pass, and one of the things I can do on Fight Pass is I can go back and take a look at some of these fighters. And leading up to 326, I'm gonna go back and watch each one of these guys' fights. and then before the 7th shows up,
we'll discuss it again. Now that you're more knowledgeable, we'll discuss it again, and maybe some of my perspectives would have changed as well. Chances are at least one of these fights are going to drop or change. That's just the nature of the game. So I'm sure we'll be talking about it again soon.
All right, cool. You got anything else you want to go over?
That's it, guys. Stay blessed, stay safe. If you in one of those Midwest or East Coast places where you're dealing with that cold weather, stay warm, guys.
Hey, man, it's warming up, man. Today was 45, man, and it felt good. I had my jacket dipped down a little bit.
It was chilly here today. Man. It was chillier today. It barely touched 70. It's been like 78, 77 here. So yeah, it was a little bit chilly today, and it was overcast.
I'm ready for spring, man.
One of them days.
I'm ready for spring.
I bet.
All right, everyone. Stay safe, stay strong. We'll see you next week, and I will end our stream. Good night.